All right, welcome everyone to this SAP Community Call. My name is Menina Chow. I'm part of the SAP Community team hosting today. A few housekeeping notes before we start. So you are very welcome to post in chat, interact with each other. There's also a Q&A functionality, a button where you can raise your questions. We will definitely have some time at the end where our speakers will address them and answer your questions, but you're definitely very welcome to post them already. We have with us Waldemar and Meltem, both long time experience with SAP, various roles, and they are here today to speak about SAP One Domain Model and SAP Master Data Integration. So with that, I think I can already start handing over to Waldemar and wish everyone a great SAP Community Call.
Thank you, Menina. Hello also from my side, and thank you for the chance to present the new SAP Master Data Strategy, in particular about the One Domain Model and the SAP Master Data Integration. So my name is Waldemar Kessel. I'm working in the Domain Services team, and afterwards Meltem will introduce herself. So, next slide. The agenda for today is that we first will have a look about the intelligent enterprise and the suite quality of One Domain Model, or of the aligned domain models. Then Meltem will explain in detail about the One Domain Model from the One Domain Model perspective, and I will give you an overview and a deep dive about the Master Data Integration service. Okay, so let's start with the intelligent enterprise to give everyone a common understanding. As mentioned by our top management, so the intelligent enterprise is a connected enterprise. And this is exactly also what our customers are asking for. So they're asking for deep out-of-the-box integration. They are asking about the flexibility to integrate also non-SAP components. Also about compatible data model and easy extensibility concept. So the intelligent enterprise ensures end-to-end processes, integration, and across the SAP Intelligent Suite, partner, and the third-party solution. To achieve a flawless integration of the four main identified business processes, which are covering, let's say, 99% of every enterprise process. This is in particular lead to cash, design to operate, source to pay, and recruit to retire. We identified some suite qualities which are important to establish. These suite qualities are mentioned here. So suite qualities are seamless user experience, consistent security identity management, aligned domain models, which we're talking today, embedded cross-product analytics, one workflow box, coordinated lifecycle management, and end-to-end process blueprints. Everything is built on the business technology platform. For those of you who want to have deeper information about the intelligent enterprise and also in particular about the business processes, here, I think Mignana will share the slides. Here is the reference for the SAP's integration plan. But as I mentioned before, today, we will talk about the aligned domain models with quality, which for me, of course, as I'm working in this area, most important ones. Also the focus of the session will be about aligned domain models. This was the short introduction about where we are coming from and why we are doing this. And now I will hand over to Meltem. And then continue with.
Thank you very much, Waldemar, for the great introduction into the Intelligent Business Suite. Hello together, also very warm welcome from my side. My name is Meltem Kahraman. I'm also from product management. I belong to ODM product management, and today I'm going to show you the SAP One Domain Model. And now I'm going to share my screen. Just a second. Okay, To ensure the connection quality, I just stopped sharing my video. I'm sharing my screen. I hope you are able to see my slides now.
Yes.
Is it visible now?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So SAP One Domain Model. Let's start with the definition of SAP One Domain Model, what is and what is needed. SAP One Domain Model, so called ODM, the model which enables the implementation of consistent APIs and reduce the dependencies on middleware to translate the data structure and values. ODM will be used to exchange data between business applications of the SAP Intelligent Suite, which is shown by Waldemar before. We have the suite for core processes, and there are different business applications in there. And we are using ODM as a common language, as a lingua of franca for exchanging data between those applications. SAP One Domain Model provides a central integration point for exchanging data capability on all SAP's application, also for cloud, as well as on-premise applications, right? And of course, via ODM, we are offering a mapping to the one central domain model. Actually, ODM is very, very basis for data sharing, and various LOB solutions can talk to each other and understand each other via ODM. If I can give an example, for instance, S/4HANA Cloud System knows what's employee and understand the same employee which is defined or which should need defined in SuccessFactors systems, or saying in other words, a SuccessFactors system is leading system for object employee, but other systems understand the same employee as well, which is defined in SuccessFactors. It means this object employee is aligned through all the systems. We have one employee, and it's understandable for all applications, in other words. Now, within this slide, you see the objects shared via ODM. As you see, it's quite complicated in the way we have same objects used in different systems, right? And without having ODM or let's say current situations like this, that we have point-to-point integration between applications. It means workforce person, for instance, is defined in SuccessFactors systems and also defined in other systems or in S/4HANA systems, and they are integrated as a point-to-point integration. But our customers, they're asking us to deliver software out of the box. What does it mean? They expect a deep out-of-the-box integration for all solutions which we are offering within Intelligent Enterprise Suite, which we have seen before. If they buy SAP, everything should be very well integrated. And they also expect enough flexibility to third-party solutions and applications. It means we are offering via ODM a data model which is compatible with each other, and this model can be reused wherever need the right model in place. And you can also easily extend this model. Okay, can we do today with ODM? Okay, we can use the master data integration for exchanging the data, which we are going to see after my presentation with Waldemar. And within this, we can offer out of the box integration, right? And as I mentioned before, or via using ODM, you can, as a customer, also integrate very easily third-party applications, through of all those main core business processes which are designed to operate, lead to cash, source to pay, recruit to retire, right? And we also offer APIs for extensions via SAP Graph, and those are all documented in our API hub, which you are going to see right now. Okay, how it all comes together. As you see here now, we put SAP Graph, MDI, and ODM in one picture to show you the dependencies. You can see ODM, the common language, which ensures those solutions can talk each other. For example, as a developer, you want to extend a business object like employee or cost center or workforce person, whatever. You will use Graph as a unified API layer, exposing those objects via ODM. ODM is the language, and SAP Graph is a layer for third-party extensions, right? And the business objects will be exchanged via Master Data Integration, which you are gonna see after my presentation. It's for internal SAP integration, right? And as a customer or as a developer, you don't need to take care of leading system. For instance, if you want to extend the cost center, you don't need to think about, oh, okay, in which system is it stored, the cost center. We have so-called ODM adapters, and those adapters, between the systems, you can imagine that those are the adapters, and those adapters take care how the mapping mapping will be done, right? And which application or which solution will communicate each other. Sorry. And here you will see, as I mentioned before, how can customers use ODM today. I said also for documentation purposes of the domain models, we are providing, as of today, so-called API Business Hub. And here the customers can see each objects and dependencies. If I go to SAP One Domain Model Business Hub. I hope you can see. Just a second. Okay, on the left-hand side of the API Business Hub, you see the domains.
Meltem, are you still sharing your screen?
Yes, you can't see it. Just a second. Can you see it again?
Yes, now I can see it.
Okay,
thank you.
Sorry for interrupting the presentation. If I open the API Business Hub on the left-hand side, you will see the domain. Yeah, we have different domains. And if I click on workforce, domain workforce, I will see all the entities which are stored here. For instance, I mentioned during my presentation about workforce person. If I click on this entity, my connection is very slow today. I'm very sorry about this. Okay, I think you can see now the entity workforce person, and we have all the attributes defined here, right? We have external ID, user account ID, personal detail, and so on. Those are also listed on the right-hand side. And you see here the dependencies, workforce person to other entities or entity types. For instance, system of record key and work assignment you will see here, or all the dependencies to other entities you will see here. Yeah, it's a domain model. It's the model of workforce person as an example. And with saying this, I would like to switch to my presentation and hand over to Waldemar again for the topic to SAP Master Data Integration. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Waldemar.
Thank you, Meltem. So I will not share my video, but I will share my screen again. Perfect. Okay, so thank you again, Meltem, for explaining the one domain model approach. So we continue with the SAP Master Data Integration, and it's important to understand that we need first to have a common language, so the one domain model, before we are starting with the integration service. So in this session, I will show you the features and the architecture for one master data integration. So the following slide shows you the evolution of master data integration. What we see at many customers today is shown on the left-hand side of this page. So the different legacy systems and application have point-to-point connections, having different data models, and this makes the communication between the system as well as the integration quite difficult. The different systems here have different representation of their models, and for integration, each system needs its own mapping in order to understand the respective system. And as Malte mentioned, with the introduction of the aligned domain models, the aligned communication between different systems is clarified right now, and no point-to-point integration is needed. And instead doing the point-to-point integration, the idea is to have a single service, so the master data integration, sitting centrally and distributing and sharing the data between the different systems and services. So the intelligent enterprise is a distributed system where each application has their own persistence. The business processes of the customers run across this application, and each process step refers to the master data in the associated application. And the overall process can only work correctly if we ensure that the applications have a consistent view on the master data in the overall landscape. To ensure a consistent view of master data, the application and the master data integration service have to work together by a synchronous communication. So let's have a deeper look, and also about different scenarios. Let's start with the very basic one. So when master data is changing in one of the applications. And it's important we distinguish here with the upstream systems, so the system which are sending the master data changes and the requests, and the downstream systems which are receiving the requests. So if master data changes in one of the upstream application, the application has to send the changes to the central service, master data integration, and our service can make these changes available for the downstream application. In this way, upstream and downstream application can regain a consistent view. So easy approach. In particular, upstream system needs to send change requests to signal that master data has changed locally and now needs to also change in the landscape. So downstream application needs to consume change events, which signal that the data has changed in the landscape and has also changed locally. In addition to this, both change requests and change events contains a JSON encoding of the master data, which is based on the one domain model, or the something what we already mentioned. In addition to the generic interface, we also offer an entity-specific SOAP interface for the business partner and product entities. Business partner and product have already aligned SOAP models, that are used by integration between multiple different application types. And by supporting this particular SOAP interfaces, we can bring the master data in this application into the intelligent enterprise even sooner. So we believe that it's worthwhile to offer a special interface for these entities for this specific case. But going forward, we want to focus on the generic interface in terms of the one domain model, because it works for all master data entity types. There are some detailed questions for the specific changes of master data I would like to cover. So, what if events arrive out of order? Potentially, it could overwrite newer data with older data, and we would lose a consistent view over the landscape. We avoid this as we guarantee that events for the same entity instance arrive in the correct order. Technically, we achieve this by storing the events in Kafka internally, and we make sure that we put events for the same entity instance into the same partition of the same Kafka topic. And since Kafka partitions are ordered, we can use Kafka, like our event log, as a consistent provider of changes in this way. But it's only consistent order of changes per entity instance, like, for example, business partner, cost center, whatever, also what Melton explained. So a second question, what I already hear, what if two upstream systems are writing the same instance in the same time? To detect this situation, we attach a version ID to every entity instance, and we use it for so-called optimistic locking. This means that the upstream application have to include the most recent version ID that have been sent when they send a change request. If MDI is aware of an even more recent version of this master data entity instance, it would reject the change request and no data is overwritten. So as you can imagine, optimistic locking is a collaborative effort of the applications and the central service, so MDI. And it requires that all upstream application also consuming the change events, because they need to know what other writers are doing. Plus, they need to know the version IDs, and they also need to know about the rejections. So we need to be careful here that we cannot expect all applications be available at the same time. And this leads us to the next question. What happens if a downstream application is offline for any reason? The good thing is, even if a downstream application is offline, the upstream application can still send change requests to the central MDI service. This is important to avoid coupling and the availability of the application. So if the downstream application comes online again, it can fetch the outstanding data from MDI. So how does the central service know which data a consumer has seen and also processed? Since MDI does not know what happens on the network, we need the support of the downstream application here. We are doing this with encoding the position of the Kafka event stream with the Delta token. We cannot do this fully only with MDIs. We cannot know for sure which events have been received and which have been processed by the downstream applications. How long can a consumer stay offline? We have to delete the events after 1 month for reason for data privacy and protection. So if a consumer has been too long offline, sorry, this is the question. He needs to do a new initial load, which brings us to the question how a consumer can join the landscape overall, at all. So if a consumer joins a landscape that already have a master data integration service, in order to get a consistent view, it needs to get all the data. This happens with connecting to master data integration and fetching a lot of change events. There is no need for the upstream application to do anything here, because they have already sent the corresponding change requests to master data integration in the past, and they were not involved with this initial load. And this is important to decouple availability and performance of the application from each other. So how do we know if a consumer is new in the landscape? also see this because of the delta token. So if a downstream application includes an empty delta token with a request for events, it would automatically trigger the initial load. Would the consumer get the whole history? No, we are not doing this. We are just setting one event per entity. So it looks like and the customer received the most recent data in his initial load. So finally, what happens if the data changes during the initial load? Also not a problem. We send corresponding change events after the initial load is finished. As we are storing, even if the initial load is happening, we are still receiving in the master data integration the changes. And then after the initial load finished, we are just sending this delta. But of course, we want more, and the customer also more. We want to have filters. So some detailed question is, in regards to filter, what if the customer wants not filter out whole instances, but just individual fields or segments of the data? We support this, and filters can also modify the change event. Another interesting case is what happens if a change of the master data moves an instance out of the filter. We are doing this as we are sending a special exclusive change event so that the downstream system knows about this change, and then the downstream application can decide now to lock the data or mark it out as outdated or even delete it. So depending on the decision. The same with the corresponding phase. If a change event moves an instance into the filter, we send a special included change events respectively, that the downstream system is informed that there was a change. But what if the filter itself changes? So if the customer goes into the master data orchestration frontend, and I will explain you what master data orchestration frontend is in a couple of minutes, and change the filter of a downstream application, that application no longer has a consistent view with the newly created filter. So it has to adapt the locally stored master data to regain the consistent view. The central service, master data integration, will help with this by analyzing the situation and making special change events available to the downstream application. So the first question is, what if an instance was in the old filter, but not in the new filter? Again, we send an excluded event for that instance, so similar as the previous cases. What if the instance is in the new filter, but not in the old? We send a so-called included event for the instance. And what if visible filter differ from the for the old and the new filter? We send an updated event for the instance. So here we ensure that the downstream application always have a consistent view and knows about the changes. But let's have even a deeper look to the master data integration architecture. So what are the components about it? So as I mentioned before, the upstream system, they are sending the change request based on the ODM. The inbound processing is taking care that each change request is only processed once. We are validating the ODM model, it's very important. And we are taking care about the optimistic locking, what I explained, that only the latest and most recent information is provided. The event log is the primary persistence, which is taking care about the ordering and the atomicity. Then we have the master data orchestration. This is our front end from MDI, where you can configure filters and also configure purposes for data privacy and protection rules. The outbound processing part is taking care about these filters. Also purpose-based replication, I mean, depends who should see what for ICE principles. It's taking care about the initial load and also taking care about the configuration changes. And of course, the downstream system receive the change events based on the one domain model approach on the lingua franca, so the common language for hopefully in the near future, the language for all SAP applications. So let's summarize the MDI guiding principles. First of all, it's a central integration point. ODM is this common language for exchanging the data. It provides out-of-the-box integration, and we have CPI in case you want to integrate third-party applications. The features are easy extensibility, as I mentioned before. You can easily add new application, cloud application, which then automatically executes the initial load. We are taking care about the optimistic blocking to keep the data quality high. You have filter rules, and we are taking care about data privacy and protection. As I mentioned before, the master data orchestration is the configuration component in MDI. So it's the front end, as MDI is a technology platform, and MDO is the front end of master data integration. The capabilities are that you can manage the distribution model, manage the business object types, you can monitor, display also distribution status, locate an object, and so on and so on. Further MDO capabilities are also in development, and they will be extended. And right now, I want to show you a short demo to give an overview that this is not only on PowerPoint, but this is already working. And we have here a short demo how One Domain Model with Master Data Integration works together. So let me open the link. This is a recorded one, it's a short one. So, can you see my screen, hopefully?
Yes.
Perfect. I will start it, okay?
In this demo around SAP's Integrated Intelligence Suite, we will see the suite quality aligned domain models in action. In our scenario, your system administrator connected the SAP SuccessFactors system and your SAP S/4HANA system to the SAP Cloud Platform Master Data Integration Service. If you as an HR manager now add a newly hired employee into SAP SuccessFactors, that connection ensures that the employee is synchronized to your SAP S/4HANA system. This is possible because all the solutions in our scenario use the SAP One Domain Model as language to exchange the employee information. Let's see how that works. In the demo, we will add the new employee Nick Fury into SAP SuccessFactors. The personal ID should be Fury. And that's also what we enter here in as person ID. After providing the rest of the information, we will get a new added employee into SuccessFactors. As a system administrator, you can now check the execution status of that data synchronization with SAP Cloud Platform Master Data Integration. In the Execution Manager, you can have a look into the payload that has been submitted to the Master Data Integration. You can download the report, open it, and compare it with the definition of a workforce person in the SAP One Domain Model Explorer in the API Business Hub. To check whether the synchronization really worked, we can see here the person ID external called Fury, and that's the one that we can also look for in the SAP S/4HANA system. So we look up the name that we had just added, so Nick, and we see here Nick Fury has been added as an employee into the SAP S/4HANA system. After clicking on identification, you can also see that the employee Nick Fury has here also the corresponding person ID Fury. So what are the benefits for the suite quality aligned domain models? You get out-of-the-box integration as well as aligned definition of business objects across SAP's Intelligence Suite. Get more information about SAP's integration strategy at sap.com/cloud-integration.
So, thank you from my side. This was a short demo, and which was showing you when you are creating a workforce person in SuccessFactors, that it automatically was also distributed with the help of Master Data Integration to an S/4HANA. Of course, there are other use cases which are more complicated and distributing around. You see here in this screen for SuccessFactors, for SAP Concur, and Field Glass. This was a deep dive in Master Data Integration architecture and also from the feature side. Thank you for your attention. Yeah, we now have some time, hopefully, or maybe for questions. Yeah, again, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Meltem and Waldemar, for your demo and also insights into this topic. I think it was very interesting. I also was able to include some of the links that were shared in this presentation, but also some related links into the chat. So feel free to also follow up here. But of course, as Waldemar mentioned, the presentation and also the recording will be made available after this call. We do have time left, definitely, and we also have questions in the Q&A section posted. Waldemar, let's give you some time to kind of scan through them. Meanwhile, I can also already touch base on some of the questions that Meltem has already answered. Maybe it is some of the questions that you want to kind of, give further insights. But yeah, so one of the questions was from Partha, wanted to know whether the master data integration as an orchestrator can handle ECC and S4HANA systems for federated MDG. And Meltem replied that MDG will be used for hybrid solutions, cloud and on-premise. Not sure, Waldemar, if you want to add to this, or if this actually is a good short and crisp answer.
I mean, what I can add to this is that MDG and also MDI are going hand in hand. I mean, it's important to just distinguish that master data governance is taking about the quality of the data and the governance of the data, whether master data integration is really for the integration and also speaking the one domain model approach and distributing the data in the SAP landscape.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And then a follow-up question was, does MDI has an underlying DB, or is it just an orchestrator for master data management? MDI is about master data. Yeah.
Master data integration has its own persistence, also this own DB. I mean, this was also shown on my slide as we look at the components of master data integration. So we have the event log, the Kafka. However, the data is then stored and saved on our persistence. And of course, we are using this persistence, for example, for the initial load, if a new system joins the landscape. So we have our own persistence.
Mm-hmm, cool. So then let's maybe have a look at the open questions that are in the Q&A area. Waldemar, would you like to pick and choose, or do you want me to read them out? Either way.
Yeah, I don't know which way. I mean, here we have, are the ODM models in line with the Open Data Initiative? Maybe, Meltem, you can take over this one. To be honest, I don't know about the Open Data Initiative.
I don't know what's meant with Open Data Initiative. Maybe we have the ODM models also for if it's meant for the third-party integration. Of course, it's extendable for a third-party initiative, and for internal solutions, it's actually each object has own data model, right? Data model, and we have the layer on this as one data model, and we enable the exchange between those data models, the data. It means via this layer, ODM layer, the models will be aligned, right? But I'm not sure what's meant with Open Data Initiative.
Yeah, maybe we can also put this on the side and also give the question author time to maybe raise it or kind of extend on this by voice, or additional comments in the chat if you like.
Yeah, I mean the one domain model approach. I mean, it comes out of the demand of this sweet quality of the aligned domain models. As I mentioned in the beginning, to achieve the intelligent enterprise, the idea of an integrated enterprise and the so-called intelligent enterprise, we need to define a common language. And this is based on the one domain model approach. and everything on top of it is building or is speaking this language, so that our applications, SAP applications, but also third party and partner application can communicate seamless with each other. So this is the background why we are doing the why we're having the one domain model and also master data integration, and shortly what was mentioned by Meltem, SAP Graph as a unified API layer for external application to connect to SAP's data. Yeah. Which integration, I see here a question, which integration messaging technique we use, SDE, SDI, or Apache Kafka? I mean, the event log is based on Kafka. I don't get the messaging technique here. Maybe we can I can provide you the answer later on. What you exactly means with messaging technique. I mean, the event log is based on Kafka, yeah, but exactly, maybe Michia, you can ask this question. We can have it offline.
Yeah, for all attendees, please also feel free to raise your hand. So there's a button about for raising the hand. We can, thanks, I see it me here. So I will now prepare you to talk. So you're unmuted. Feel free to extend on that question that you raised.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, yeah, so the basic intention of this question, Waldemar, was that do we really use the pub/sub methodology or technique for messaging, or it's typical topics and queues of Kafka? So that's the basic intention I had.
Yeah, I mean, we're using Kafka here, and because it's a huge amount of data, and we want to order it. And this is actually, the technology, current technology, which can handle this this huge amount of data.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think that is clear to me. But one last thing connected to this, do you use here underlying the native Apache Kafka or the concurrent Kafka?
I don't know. I cannot answer this question, to be honest. So
no worries. Okay.
I need to double check this with the architects, which one is used here. So, but let me come back to you in regard of this.
No problem. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I will also post in the chat that we do have tags available for you to follow to be updated around blog posts that can be read from whoever that is following up on these topics. So feel free to definitely stay tuned on these topics since there's more and more information being shared.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then are there more questions that maybe some of you would like to raise in person? If not, definitely there are some questions that we can definitely try to address here in the Q&A area. All right, next one coming up.
Yeah, hi, this is me again. So this is a question to you, Menina, huh? Menina,
Yes.
This is right. Yeah, okay. So the chat which I see, you posted really useful comments in the chat, not in the Q&A, in the chat. Yeah.
Yes.
So can this be also available offline? Because I believe that once the meeting room is over, chat is lost. Huh?
Yes, correct. So most of the links that I shared in chat are available in the presentation. And there's also a blog post that I also shared here in the chat, which has all of the links as well, like the help portal documentation about master data integration, the videos and all this. So yeah, feel free to follow up there. They're not lost. Good question though.
Thanks. Yeah.
I have here,
All right.
I just saw here there's a question.
Perfect. Yeah.
I didn't know if it's already answered. So in MDI, it is fair to assume that any transaction system can change master data, and MDI will take care of the change, which goes beyond the fact that all master data change happen in MDG centrally. Exactly. So it is as you can create data, decentrally, not only in MDG. MDI is taking care that this data, what you change, is also distributed and created in the respective connected systems. As I mean, we have the upstream and downstream system. So this would mean if you create something in the upstream system, the same master data will be then created also in the downstream system. And this depends, of course, of the customer, how he is handling his master data. If this is only done via MDG, or if it's done decentrally in each and every application. For example, you create, as you saw in the demo, you create in SuccessFactors a new employee, and this one is then directly distributed and created in an S4 system. This was the last one I saw here.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's still possible to raise your hand, ask your questions. It's always great to have the experts with us that can address your questions live here. But for those watching the recording, of course, make sure that you go to community.sap.com, where you can learn more about SAP integration strategy, One Domain Model, about master data integration. Stay tuned on those pages. Is there one more question that we can respond to? Or also now I'm giving, of course, everyone a chance to speak up from the attendees. Otherwise we can of course also always decide to end early. Or any additional tips, tricks, notes that you both, Meltem and Waldemar, would like to maybe bring up in the last minutes before we close?
I don't know. I mean, from my side, it's important that you are aware about the one domain model. I think this is a quite important topic right now at SAP, that we have that we can achieve the integration between the different applications. Yeah, and it's good. Would be great if you could share this information about one domain model, master data integration within your teams, and distribute this information. But as far as I understood, the call is ending at 16:45, and we are 5 minutes beyond it. So I think if you have further questions, also feel free in regards of MDI to contact me directly and send me an email. It's fine. I will try to answer.
Yeah, I also say thank you very much for your attention and for your interest to those topics. And if you have further questions to ODM, and please also feel free to contact me and Waldemar, and I appreciate answer your questions or to organize another demo and presentation with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, I just see one last question that just came in. Training for master data integration. Where can the community find learning resources, training information?
To be honest, there is no training course set up. I mean, we're working on this, of course. I mean, that we have dedicated sessions for, for consultants or for partners. This is currently not finished, but we are working on this. However, if you want to get more information, then please look in the GEM page. If you search for domain services or for master data integration, you will find our group with also some more information and slides for master data integration.
Yep, and as I posted in the chat, community.sap.com is your go-to for the open knowledge exchange. So of course, learning is what you can do also all together on the community. All right, with that, thank you, Waldemar, Meltem, for your time, for explaining into this topic. Thank you everyone for attending, and have a good rest of the day. Bye everyone.